Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to assume this is all working. So we're going to do a quick demo of the new plugin for public meetings. And this is a WordPress plugin. It's only available on Our Hometowns platform right now, but we're hoping to make it, a plugin that you can just download for any WordPress site. And today I want to work on some meetings in Florida. We work with a publisher that does weeklies in Florida and Michigan, and we want to get him set up with a feed. So what I'm looking at here, switch tabs. This is the public meetings channels directory. So I started off with a lot of them in Utah, and we'll spend some time doing that probably in a different stream. But then I got into the Florida. So these are the cities where we have papers. So and also have a live YouTube channel. So I can go into, let's see which one I haven't done yet. I don't think I've done a Palm Beach Gardens. So we've created this new, I guess it's a post type called public meeting, or the meeting channel. So I can come in here and look at the feed, and this is where basically you connect it with the YouTube channel so that as they're publishing new meetings, we're getting updated links in here that it can eventually be auto processed. Right now, everything's manual. So if I go into the May 1st meeting, it's already, no, actually it hasn't been processed yet, but we do have a meeting that exists. So it's like it's created this meeting, but it hasn't been processed. So it's sort of in a queue. I can elevate that to the processing level. And then at some point here, I'm not sure exactly how this part works, but eventually the transcript will get filled in. But I think this is also a point where I can fetch it. But that hasn't always been working, so I'm not sure what to expect. We could also try processing a second meeting here. It's interesting how the retry processing option comes up right away. I don't think that really makes sense, but okay. So let's go in and reopen this now that it's had some time to process. Share this tab instead. Okay, it's still not there. So yeah, the forcing the processing doesn't seem to work that well. But let's switch back to Fort Myers, because I know I had this working earlier. Well, we've got a couple completed and a couple pending, huh? See, what's the difference? Oh, did that work finally? Hold on. This is city council meeting. I think it finally worked. So back to looking at this Palm Beach one. What? See, it's funky. Continue. It's not giving me topics. No, that's never mind. False alarm. Man, and I'm sorry I keep forgetting to share the right tab. But yeah, I don't think we want to really look at that. Let's share. Might as well just share the entire screen over here for now. It'll be easier. If I do need to share audio, I will. Okay, so there's completed processing and pending. I saw another one back here. Yeah, processing. Other meeting channels. Let's see. So these are pending. It's a 5-hour meeting. Well, so this one's completed. Let's check this one out, actually. This is one I was working on earlier, and it's a long one. So let's see how detailed the summary is. 18. Okay. Looks like it didn't really complete the meeting. So let's check the topics. Huh. Did the meeting really only go? Oh, so it says it's 3 hours, but it seems like from the transcript it early. Wait, that's look at this. What the heck is going on? I'm at the end of the video. It says it's an hour and 40 minutes out of 3 hours. So that is just a screwed up video. Okay, so this is fine. The summary looks good. Timestamps look good. We've already created these articles. These damn articles. And I don't understand why I need 3 of them. But let's go see it. This is what it came up with 0 intervention. I'm just shuffling it through. Okay, so that's the problem. Is there is 1 intervention needed. I need to re-embed this video because it's screwed up for some reason. The timestamps also did not work here. But it's been really weird because sometimes I'll go in. Let's see. Let's edit the content. See, I don't know if there's 1 or 2 videos that exist or articles that exist for this summary. It seems like it's just 1, but there's 2 links. Okay, so to fix the embed problem, I just need to grab the link, and I'm sure we're going to fix this soon, so you don't have to do it. But then it's kind of funky because if I publish that, then it will no longer show this bad video. Even though they're both sitting in the block editor here, I don't really understand it. It's buggy because this is a custom block. Yeah, none of these timestamps worked, and then the formatting gets screwed up. But at least you can see that I fixed the scrolling. So this is how it's supposed to behave, where the summary and transcript buttons are semi-sticky, and they've got this transparent background rather than what we saw before, where they were kind of locked in right at this level of the scroll. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe I'm gonna pivot this to some Utah meetings because I'm just having better luck there. Let's take a look at Salt Lake City Council. They're having their budget meetings. I'm assuming a lot of city councils are doing budget meetings this time of year. We've got an updated video from last night, so let's process that. Looks like it picked it up at 2:30 a.m. today. So this is one thing. I'm not sure if there's an indicator that we can get on here. Because it really doesn't make sense for me to go and open this meeting right now. If I go over to public meetings, I think it'll already be in here, but it may not have the transcript, so it may not have anything. What happened? Is this thing crashing as we speak? Okay. Let's see. Okay, good. So it would be right here at the top if it was there, but it's not. I'm just gonna try reloading topics pending. Oh, see, okay, this is interesting. This is a delay that I'm getting from just the way the LLM processes the request. It does take a few minutes, but there's really no status. I mean, you have these statuses, but I didn't realize that topics pending was even a thing. Kind of curious now. I want to look at it. See. So I'm assuming because you've got the three levels of the public meeting processor, right? Transcript, topics, summary. So obviously it has the transcript if it has topics. This looks like a good summary. 5 hours. Damn. Really? 7 hours, but wow. This looks like a really good summary. But the summary, it's just sitting here. So I don't want to mess with that because for some reason when I rush it, I swear this thing is just like it's like dealing with mercury or something, whatever the phrase is. Super. Okay, now that's complete. Let's just go in fresh. I swear. Because you don't know if I freaking reload the page I was on, what I'm going to get. All right, so now, oh, it's still showing the topics, but, well, it lands me on topics, but as you can see, we've got perfect timestamps. Looks good. I don't know why it has to have that. That's fine. I'm not going to mess with it. It's already got an article. Beautiful. Because I've enabled that. Ooh, I didn't mean to update that, but see, let's view it. Let's just go in from here. No way. Blank, blank, crash. See what's under articles here. Oh, cool. It's already live because I guess that's the setting. That's good. Perfect. Only thing is, I can't see anything. Now, that's interesting. What? What is happening? Okay. Interesting. Super loud for me. I don't know if you could even hear that. That may be good. Let's see here. Let's just fix this. Okay, so this is the buggy part where I've got to go in and again just drop a new video in there, a fresh embed. I don't need to add any code, and it will override the other video. I think that's part of how the JavaScript works with the whole kind of parallax effect. Parallax. Okay. Uh-oh. Not sure what happened there. Hmm. Let's see what we have. All right, got categorized correctly. Looks good. Perfect. These are actually really good. So the timestamps are correct, but this formatting is not good. That's probably a minor thing, though. Super long summary, man. I mean, this meeting was long. Wait a second. 40. What? Wait a second. No way. That's not good. Okay, it looks like it's super detailed summary timestamp outline. But it's only the first 30 minutes. Okay, let's go back. Wow, I really thought I didn't even check that. So there's still quite a bit to check. All right. So then this is what we built the custom summary instructions for. This is optional and hopefully you don't need to use it much, but we do here. So please include all topics and subtopics in the summary. And this usually gets the job done because the topics outline is great. It goes all the way through the 4-hour or 6-hour meeting. So then you can regenerate the summary, but sometimes this creates other problems. So we'll see. I've been pretty much exclusively testing Gemini 2.0. Should probably try some of the others. We've got GPT 4.0 Mini 4.0 and Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Claude is what I was using with the app that we built a while back. Okay, there it is. So it looks like timestamps are still there. It's not formatted exactly how I like. But now this is why he has the update. So I'm going to update that. And that would be this article. We don't need to create a new one. I'm really now not sure at all about how that second article works. No. See, this sometimes happens. Things have been breaking. Huh. Doesn't like that. Weird. View. Go fresh. I'm trying to just get the article to load, but it seems like I killed the article. Even if I reload this old page, it's messed up. So yeah, just by regenerating the summary. So strange. Well, maybe that's why I need the second article. All right, let's create an additional article, see what happens. I assume it's the second one. See, hold on, let's load this. Let's just look at the articles. Is there a separate one or not? Yes. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, gotta fix this again. Hopefully that'll be it. Publish. Now this is where we had that weird JSON error last time. JSON. I think. Okay, let's see what we got. Good. I don't know why I kind of jumped the gun on that, but oof. Way too many tabs. So the summary on this one here. I didn't QC this right. So yeah, it only goes through an hour. From the what is it? 6 hour meeting? 6 hour meeting in the summary. Damn it. Now, see, I don't know if I need to update it. Maybe I didn't update it right. Okay, that is updated. Now let's regenerate. That's gonna be cool. Okay, sweet. Now let's see how many minutes in. 45. It's even worse. Yeah. Yeah, we're just not getting the results we need. Long meetings are a problem once again. Well, that's okay. A little bit of failed testing there, but this is the status of where we're at with the project. So I think for the remainder, we'll just stream this meeting. Oh, wait, is that the one that doesn't work? Yeah, all of these are bad links now. That's interesting. Gets a little confused. Let's go. Is it still just a draft? It's not drafts anymore. Yeah. All right. Now we need to switch. Place screen sharing with a tab. Share the audio on that. And get rid of my face. Okay, here we go. Let's see how this works.
It's on May 13th. We are starting with a city council work session. Our meetings are public and you are open to join us in person or by watching on the council's agenda page, Zoom, YouTube, or SLC TV. Hope you'll join us in whatever manner you feel most comfortable. This is a work session meeting today. There will be no public comment for our city council meetings, but on our formal meeting on May 20th will be the next opportunity for city council public comments. We do have a CRA meeting today that we will convene later, and there will be public comment to the CRA on CRA related items. That starts in about 45 minutes, and then we'll come back into city council meeting after the CRA meeting. So we're going to jump back and forth today. You're, of course, always welcome to give us feedback by mail, P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84114. You can also email council.comments at slc.gov or call 801-535-7654. The first item on our city council agenda is informational economic forecasting presentation. We have with us Natalie Gochner, director of the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute. And she will present us the Gardner Institute's.
That's great.
Hi, Natalie. Thanks.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm welcome the opportunity to be here. I want to thank you for your partnership with the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute. As you know, we're just a few blocks away. We're 10 years old now. 10 years ago, we, under President Pershing's leadership, decided to create a public policy institute that served the state and the city. And you partnered with us right from the beginning, recognizing the importance of having a really trusted think tank in the city. And so excited to share an economic update with you today. What a time to be an economist, right? A lot of uncertainty. I've never had a time when I get up and present on the economy where I have to watch my words so closely. But I want to walk you through a narrative and kind of think through this. So let's go to the next slide and let's look at just starting at the state level and see what's happening. Our broadest measure of economic activity is gross domestic product. The numbers for 2024 just came in about 5 weeks ago, and Utah led the nation in GDP growth. You can see it's at 4.5%. If you look over on the far right, you'll see it shows the U.S. at 2.8. That's the average, right? So we're 4.5. The average is 2.8, and then you've got many states in the 1% and 2% range, and even 1 in the negative territory. So we have the fastest growing economy in the nation, and I spent all morning with Utah business leaders, and they feel some trepidation about what's happening in the economy. but I did have the ability to look at them and say, you're in the best place in the country, even with the challenges. So you all saw this, but U.S. News and World Report, we'll go to the next slide, came out with their rankings a couple of weeks ago, and they ranked for the third time in a row Utah the best state in the nation. It's pretty unusual place to be 3 years in a row. And among rankings, this is like the big kahuna ranking because it looks at education and crime and economy and fiscal discipline and natural resources, all sorts of things. And I only pointed up here not to be in the, pat ourselves on the back crowd, but more to say that this is a special place. There's some special things happening here. And I don't have the data here that I didn't feel the need to present, but we presently have the lowest poverty rate in the country as a state. We have the highest household income when you adjust for cost of living in the country. Highest household income when you adjust for cost of living. Highest levels of social capital, highest levels of social upward mobility. And I think it's really important because where we are right now in Salt Lake City is the urban center that births a lot of this. So let's go to the next slide and just kind of think through this. At the city level, you all have more than I have on the economy. There's not a lot we can look at, but we do know how to look at population. And nearly half of the state's jobs are in Salt Lake County. So this is the home for the metro center. And about 1 in every 4 jobs in the state are right here in Salt Lake City. That's a stunning number. When you think of the breadth of the state, when you think of all the way down to St. George, when you think of what's going on in Utah County, think of Logan and Cache and Utah State University, but 1 in every 4 are in Salt Lake City. It's over 400,000 jobs. And then I think I've mentioned this to you before, but if we took the state and had everybody in the state weigh the same and said, where does the state balance? It's called the mean population center of the state. It's 21st South and State. Crazy, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I say it's crazy because we often forget how important it is that we maintain a strong urban center, and we've been able to do that. And we must keep doing that. And I'm going to show you how you're doing it. So let's go to the next slide and look at something interesting. So this is decennial years. These are the best population numbers we get because it's an actual count, not an estimate. And you see from the 1900s, Salt Lake City getting up to 189,000 people. But then you see these consecutive decades of decline where the city was contracting in people. Beginning in 2000, that turned around and we increased in 2000, we increased in 2010, and we increased in 2020. This is complete renewal. This is revitalization. This is a city that was in decline that figured out how to invest in a Broadway theater, how to invest in transit, how to invest in professional sports, how to invest in housing and community building that resurrected this city in my judgment. Because just think what would have happened if that would have kept going down. All right, let's go to the next one. These are provisional numbers, but at the Gardner Institute, we do population estimates. That 2024 number has not been released yet. I'm just calling it provisional and sharing it with you today, but we're estimating a population in the city just over 220,000 people. Look at your growth rate. From 2023 to 2024, a 4% growth rate. Now, the state, at that same time frame, grew by 1.5%. That's one of the fastest growing states in the country, and you are double that in the central city. This is not something that I would have predicted 15 years ago, for example. Now, one thing that you might remember, if you look at that big jump from 2022 to 2023, that's a really big growth rate of 7%. That includes the state prison. So it's a little artificial there. You have a group quarters that move from out of the city into the city, but then it's there in 2023, so we don't count it again in 2024 as a growth rate. It's there in the top number, but that 4% is what we're seeing all around us. It's dynamic urban living. It's neighborhoods that are investing and putting in more housing and whatnot. If we go to the next slide, the basis for population estimates are the housing unit growth. So I just wanted you to see your housing unit growth. Rates of 5.8, 8.6, 6.3%. This is measured number of permitted housing units constructed in city boundaries. So, and then let's just look at one more. I think this is interesting. Let's go one more slide here. So again, these are provisional numbers. We haven't quite released them yet, but I've mentioned the state's growing at 1.5%, the city growing at 4%. I wanted to show you some peer cities. So Lehi, Center of Silicon Slopes is growing at 2.8%. Provo and Orem, legacy cities in this state, below 1%. Sandy, contracting. West Jordan, contracting. Anyway, part of why I wanted to show you this is Salt Lake City is on the leaderboard for activity, for dynamism, for things happening. Yeah.
Natalie, that doesn't mean the number of households likely stayed the same in Sandy, just the family size? People moved out? Or what do you think
In
accounts for
Sandy?
that?
Yeah, well, you would have, you might have vacant homes. You might have definitely family size. This is mostly kids leaving.
Kids
leaving
leaving
the parents
the home,
behind.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
a
what
lot
I
of
was-
that. Gentrification.
I grew up in
different things.
Sandy and left,
Yeah, and,
so.
and they go through a maturation. And this isn't anything, I mean, this is both a incredible opportunity for the city, but also an amazing challenge, obviously. But what is really unique to me about it is we're in an elite economy nationwide as a state, and the urban center is participating and contributing to the economic vibrancy of the state in a big way. And population's my best way to look at that. Okay, that's all the good news. Well, because I'm gonna talk about economic uncertainty a little bit, but as a first point, and the mayor's office asked me to share this with them, and so I've shared it with the cabinet there. But we do have a job market right now that's still really strong in the state and in the country. So let's go to the next slide, and this is just showing you job growth. The red is Utah, the gray is the U.S., going back to 2000. See how the red line's above the gray line? We typically grow faster than the nation. You see COVID, those vertical bars are recessions, those gray bars. You can see this glide path coming down after COVID, but Utah economy growing about 1.7%, nation growing about 1.2%. These are healthy numbers, they're strong. The so-called recession that everyone's looking for it's not apparent in these numbers yet. Now let's go to the next slide, which is unemployment. This is one of the things you would expect unemployment to tick up quite a bit in a recession. Again, Utah's in red here, lower than the nation. But our unemployment rate has decreased now for 3 consecutive months in Utah. It's interesting, isn't it? The nation's ticking up, you can see that, but none of this would suggest pants on fire. This is a strong labor market that continues to be, in many ways, the envy of the world. U.S. economy is among the strongest in the world, and of course Utah leading that. Here's the tough thing. Let's go to the next slide. We are a part of what I would think is a self-inflicted economic harm caused by tariffs. And as this started, I pulled out my economic textbooks, my principles textbook, my micro textbook, my macro textbook, my intermediate, they all say the same thing. They all agree, and this is one thing that, economists don't agree on a lot of things, but we don't like tariffs because it's a tax on trade. And so if I do an exchange with you, I only do it because I benefit, and you only do it because you benefit. If you don't, you don't do it. And so trade is efficient, and it grows, and it's how we have had so much prosperity in the world and in this country. Before the current administration, the effective tariff rate was 1%. In the first Trump term, it went up to 3%. President Biden kept all those, so it stayed at 3%. I don't know what that bottom bar will be. Most of the forecasting entities, the only thing they agree upon is it's going to be higher than 3. And that has an effect. So if we look at the next slide, this is at the national level, gross domestic product. Over on the far left, those kind of blue-purple numbers, that's the pandemic. Ignore those. Those are fake economy, high numbers, inflated by stimulus. But it's just interesting perspective. Then we had a quarter of negative GDP growth, but then we got all those 2-3%, even a 4% GDP growth rate. That's been the envy of the world, having that strong of growth. And now we look at first quarter 2025, and you see it went negative, first time in a while. And then those yellow bars are Wells Fargo current forecast, although they keep changing it. I think they've gone a little bit more positive now, but that's part of the point, is there's uncertainty. And you could make the argument that those far right, those 4 bars on the right are really the beginnings of a recession in the forecast. Now, recessions, they ebb and flow. We have a business cycle. We get through them. They're not the be-all, end-all. But it looks like I pulled it out of my slide deck, but right now, the probability of a recession among most economists is somewhere in the 45 to 60% range. So flip of a coin. We'll see. Why is that? Let's go to the next one. There's something called the Uncertainty Index. This is a group of economists that look at Economist magazine country reports. So looking at the whole world, that's why it's the World Uncertainty Index. And they look at reports on the term uncertainty or any word that is like uncertainty. And they just have this stunning, this shows you this is a global trade war. Look at the uncertainty it caused globally. It's more than during the pandemic. There's another measure, let's go to the next one, that shows what they call policy uncertainty. This one, they look at the 10 largest newspapers and look at stories on uncertainty and create an index on it. They also look at the major forecasting firms like Moody's or Goldman and see the disparity in their forecasts. And if there's a lot of disparity, that's uncertainty. So anyway, you see the pandemic is off the charts, but look at how high the policy uncertainty is. And then a little bit closer to home, if we go to the next one, we survey every month consumer sentiment in Utah, and the University of Michigan does it for the U.S. So the gray is the U.S. Look at the decline in the last few months, just of a really stunning free fall in consumer sentiment. And you can see Utah's is doing not so much, but still doing it. And so you got a consumer that's feeling a little funky. You've got businesses with a lot of uncertainty, so they're not hiring or they're pausing, they're not investing, and eventually that's going to show up in the numbers. This should be a leading indicator to all of us. Last thing I want to share, and then we can open up for questions, is I just want to think just a little bit more about what's happening in Salt Lake City and the economy. I'm going to lean heavily here on the tourism sector as being the center of sports and entertainment for our state. If you look at the next graph, it's showing you job growth by industry. And I wanted you to note leisure and hospitality declining at 2%. So from March of 2023 to March of 2024, it got smaller. This is the tourism sector getting smaller. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that there's a lot of things that we're looking at there. The industry's contracting. International travel is tempered by these trade wars. We've had these cuts in the national park, 13% declines. This isn't really affecting yet, but I'm really mindful of downtown redevelopment and a partial shutdown that displaces economic activity around the corner. I think a little bit about the piling on of tariffs and downtown redevelopment and less international visitors, yada, yada, yada. Temple Square becomes a bright spot in that, and you'll know more about that than I do, but my belief is that we will see a surge in visitors to this city as part of the reopening. I just know the people involved and what they're planning on and what they've done to take it down to bring it back. And I think that will be a real plus to the city's economy. Let's look at this next slide. This is kind of interesting. This is a group called Tourism Economics. They are the national leaders on tourism forecasts, and they've revised their forecast 3 times in recent months, and they went from an 8.8% year-over change for 2025 to a -3, and now they're to a -9. So this is something that's expected and well-known in the leisure and hospitality sector, that we're going to feel some pain from that contraction. So I would expect in city coffers that your budget managers and CFOs and whatnot are very mindful of sales tax and transit room taxes and all of the tourism taxes that are associated with this. So my last thing is just to show you some of these equilibrating forces. Let's go to the last slide here. On the positive side, you are the economic center of the most successful economy in the country. You have public, or we, I should say, have public and private investment in our urban center, including what's happening in Temple Square. We have strong population growth, a remarkable workforce. I didn't share the data on that, but we believe we have the 3rd most well-trained, well-educated workforce in the country here in Utah. And then the life quality, it never stops to amaze me how beautiful this place is. On the negative, we have these national headwinds that will affect us. We have the visitor economy that will be impacted, and I can't do a presentation without mentioning the housing shortage is still a problem for this state and obviously for this city. So that's what I prepared to share with you. Let's just open it up for questions. I hope that was something like what you were hoping for, but sets a context of a lot of promise in this economy, but we're in sort of risky waters, and we'll get through it.
Council members, Councilmember Petro.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Even bad news coming from you like somehow calms me because at least I know where I stand.
Oh,
I can
thank
trust
you,
it.
Victoria.
So as we're looking at it in our budget book, 42% of our general fund comes from sales tax. So you would think in a state that politically aligns so closely with federal that we would have a greater tolerance for the uncertainty, but with that sentiment going down, it feels like as a policymaker whose priority is not to displace by taxation people from their homes, that a reliance on sales tax or a building with that as a basis is more tenuous than in the past. Is that a correct conclusion that I'm drawing?
Yeah, if I understand what you're saying, that you have different tax sources and some are more volatile than others, and sales tax is one of those that very much responds to the business cycle, the ebbs and flows, and that would be very true. You know, the property tax is the more stable. Interesting, in our work, I realize the city doesn't have an income tax, but at the state level, the income tax has been even more volatile than sales tax. It's because of capital gains. It's because of corporate income and capital gains. But yeah, that's something you have to watch. And I will just say that I want to compliment city, staff and leaders, because in my interaction with city staff, they're very good and they know what they're doing.
Dugan.
Thanks for the numbers and appreciate the conversation. My question is on the recession side, and then we talk about recession and we talk about inflation at the same time, and how they working in concert here, and if the recession is really deep, how is that affecting the entire, since it's so uncertainty, the inflational pressures that we're going to see also? How
Right.
does that play out? And then with the unemployment,
Yeah.
what's your cloudy crystal ball say?
Yeah, so in regards to unemployment and inflation, so this is a very interesting recession if it happens, because it will be self-inflicted. I've never heard of it. Recessions are very painful, so why do you do this? Just give you a sense, in typical times, Utah has about 55,000 people unemployed. When we go into recession, that pops up to 110, 120,000. It doubles the number of families in distress. That's painful. But because it's self-inflicted, so other ways as recessions happen is because of structural imbalances, shortages, exogenous shocks, things you don't control. This one, because we control it, it's not like we can turn it on and off, but we can do it more than other recessions. So a reason many of the economists aren't forecasting a recession right now is because as things start to look bad, the administration will change and come to the rescue, which we've seen now how many times? 5 or 6 times. And so I'm of the opinion that I'm in the 50-50 odds camp. I think I don't want to be political, but the midterm elections will loom large here. And so you've got just a few more months where you can kind of, try to have a dial on the economy. And then you've got to get really serious about not taking so many risks, policy risks, if you will. I want to be really clear, though, that there is something, rebalancing global trade is obviously what they're trying to do. And if they negotiate all of our trade agreements to be more advantageous to us, that will help us in the long term. So there's that. It's so painful getting there. And then there's tax policy you have to look at with it. And as you know, they're very much trying to, when I say they, the administration in Washington is very much trying to figure out a tax cut that will do its thing. And then they also have regulatory reform. So the combination of regulatory reform, tax reform, and trade reform is the economic package that is being put together. Do some good with it. So wait to see.
Okay, Wharton and then Lopez Chavez.
So I don't intend this to be political either, but I've heard some say that there are businesses that are fleeing Salt Lake City. And to me, that doesn't seem true, but, I try to think about it and just anecdotally about whether or not that seems like it's the case. Is there any data to support that?
Fleeing.
Yeah.
Huh. It's not showing up in the population data. The employment data is much more difficult to get your hands on, a much softer number. I guess I would be looking at, building permits and see what kind of trends you see there. I'm not aware of businesses fleeing the city in anything I'm seeing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lopez Chavez.
Thank you for coming in, Natalie. My question is related to how we can encourage or overcome some of those negative public consumer sentiments in the downtown, specifically related to our implementation of the public safety plan and construction mitigation.
Yeah. Let me just restate the question. So you've got new things happening in the city, and some of the construction will be disruptive. You have a new public safety plan that's going to do some things, and you're just trying to mitigate the impacts, the effects of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. I was a part of the last major rebuild of downtown Salt Lake City. We coined the term, Salt Lake Rising, downtown rising. And there was an amazing effort to deal with mitigation during the construction. Some of you will know or remember that when tracks went up Main Street, it was incredibly harmful. It took forever, and it really hurt businesses. And there was a determination not to do that again with City Creek Center. And the Salt Lake Chamber, the Downtown Alliance, and the city jointly worked so closely to do a lot of construction mitigation, and I think model and was really terrific. A lot of communication. When they built light rail up 4th South University Boulevard, did a much better job, than on Main Street. So, my thinking there is that we rise or fall together, in doing these things. And the best thing that the city can do, that the county can do, the state can do, residents can do, is work together to solve these problems. And it sounds kind of cliche, but that's the solution, is connecting, conversations, work groups, strategies, data, and we're really good at that.
My secondary question, Natalie, is in the inverse of recessions, I'd love to better understand how can Salt Lake City capitalize on some of these weaker economic points in Utah so we can attract industry into a burgeoning capital city.
Thanks for the question. I think if I were trying to think front and center, I'd put a lot of thought into the Salt Lake City School District. I think that workforce and education are critical, and that to the degree that public education is strong in Salt Lake City, it will help the Salt Lake City economy. That's one place I would go. Another place I would look at is all the things that are supportive of families. Parks, trails, open space, obviously safety, these sorts of things. I'm just thinking of life quality. Salt Lake City is different than any place in the state. It is of an urban character and a density that you just don't find elsewhere. And it's very attractive to creative populations, to young populations, and to financial service sector. I'm just trying to think of the broad swath of industries that are very present in the city. Medical devices, insurance, business services, healthcare, obviously education and higher education with Westminster and University of Utah, and even SLIC's presence here and the like, Ensign College. So anyway, I would be very mindful of the core fundamentals, like the building blocks of a great economy, and that tends to come to workforce and physical infrastructure, and then human capital, meaning the way that we get along and talk and collaborate together.
Natalie.
You notice I didn't say like tax incentives. Because there's something there, but I don't think that is, those are sort of like on the margin. The real thing is a great community.
I was surprised by the tourism data that you shared with us. Can you help me understand that? Like if I think of what's in the news and the headlines that we're hearing, they're related to trade. Mm-hmm. And that's like goods that are crossing the ocean, but it's not, people aren't being tariffed when they come into our country. So
Yeah.
where's
Yeah.
the link there? Are they completely
Border crossings
unrelated?
are really down. We know that in the data. We also know that there's a lot of, let's take our neighbors to the north. Canada's just mad at us. They're just not coming. If you look at some, Airbnb type data, you see a lot of cancellations and whatnot. Some of them, I think it's a protest. Some of them, I think it's also just a concern about getting here and what's going on here.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then you go to the national park experience. In the slides, there was some data about how visitation's done this and employment's done this, and so maybe the quality of the experience isn't what it would be, and they're reading about it and they're seeing that. So those are some of the things going on. And then also, the Delta Center can't be doing anything right now because it's under construction, so that affects, that's a short-term thing, but we're seeing it in the data. And we're not alone. It's not a Utah thing. It's a national thing.
Pui?
Thank you for all the interesting data that helps us trying to wrap our head around what's going on in the country and the world around us, and all the many things that could impact our community. And it seems like Salt Lake and Utah in general, we are still a very attractive place to live and play and to raise families and to granted all these unknowns on how they are going to ultimately affect us. But one of the takeaways from me is that the diversification of our economy has been beneficial to us, and that we can survive some of these impacts because there are too many different angles of our economy here in Utah and in Salt Lake itself. One of the challenges I see, even in our best times in communities like the ones I represent on the west side, relate to the quality of jobs that many of my neighbors access or know to access. And while the economic forecast or the current situation of our economy may be positive, many people in our community, even with that low unemployment, are still pinpointing between multiple jobs to make ends meet. And those jobs maybe do exist out there, maybe very close to their houses. And that is a challenge that I don't know if you have any advice, but it seems to me one of the biggest challenges for upward mobility for many members of our own communities here in Utah and in Salt Lake is to find those jobs that are life-changing, that are family making, and it seems to me that is the thing that is stopping a lot of the progress, that I don't know how to, from my position, I don't know how to help connect.
Yeah. You've asked a very challenging question, and I applaud you for asking it. It was really a privilege about 2 weeks ago to have Dr. Raj Chetty in town. He's the Harvard economist that's done so much work on upward mobility. He was an impact scholar for the University of Utah, and I hope some of you got to see some of the coverage of his visit. But we're in the process right now of forming a partnership with his team. It's called Opportunity Insights, to do some more case studies to understand upward mobility in our state, and with a focus on what I'll call the Northwest County, Northwest Valley. So starting from Taylorsville and West Valley and Kearns and moving its way to West Salt Lake City. We sort of have a little geography that we're trying to look at. What he does is he anonymizes data and then tracks it over time. So you look at a cohort, what did their parents do, and then what did the kids do over time? And in the work that they've done both here and elsewhere, the number one thing that they find, well, I should let him speak for his own work, but my reading of his work is that one of the highest interventions, one of the best interventions you can do is integration. Integration. This idea that when we separate, we don't get as good of outcomes. So I'm talking about socioeconomic integration versus socioeconomic separation. So that's one of the findings. So a policy application of that would be that.
Councilman Petro?
So you mentioned the housing shortage, and you mentioned how elite our economy is, but we often take heat, especially because of our position as the counter-majoritarian center, for our role in how expensive. We are now in the top 10 of states for housing costs.
That's right.
how do we square that? And especially as we're trying to square that and be really proactive, we're finding that the traditional role of economics is almost forcing us into replicating historical mistakes we know we don't want to make. So for instance, when nonprofits that offer rehabilitative services go out with their budget to find a parcel or a building, they tend to find them in the places that are historically redlined, that are already home to so many other services. And then the forces of economics,